Hit the shots, win the game. And here's the best part. Mean the mug, Commissioner Gordon, the hero Denver deserves and needs. And the 45 missed threes Boston had last night. If we show every single one, we'll run past PTI into Sports Center. But we'll show the lowlights of the highlights of the lowlights around the horn. Mr. Big Shot, who do you think you are? Aaron Gordon putting together a first two rounds for the ages with two game winners. Mean mug for days. This play played out with Westbrook pushing it and getting it to him for that three ball. Only needed a two, took the three. For the full game, a 14-point comeback for the Nuggets. And a huge game from Jokic, 42-22, as the Nuggets pull off the stunner. Thunder strategy, late fouling Denver twice in the final 12 seconds. To prevent three-pointers, which is what they've done all year. It's a sound strategy. That second one, though, came a little quick, so whether they should be regretting that. Part of this discussion, looking for the number one takeaway from Nuggets 121, Thunder 119 around the horn, Courtney Cronin.
I don't have an issue with their strategy of trying to foul up three. It prevents the game-tying three-pointer. It's what they've relied upon all season to get to this point as the number one seed. They just did it too early, Tony. With 10.1 seconds, at the very minimum, they should have allowed Denver to get the ball across half court before fouling. And this works if Chet Holmgren doesn't choke from the free throw line. He's a career 78% free throw shooter, but to miss both of those and then stopping the clock, allowing Denver 2 extra possessions to force this comeback is all in Oklahoma City. But I find myself asking the question, why did Mark Daigneault not try to allow his defense to prevent a good look from three? They had the best defense in the NBA this season, and the mistakes that they made down the stretch of the fourth quarter, this, of course, is what we're going to remember it for because it was a complete poor execution, boneheaded move by Alex Caruso to execute the foul at 10.1 seconds. But this was a team that had control of this game all throughout. And then the experience versus inexperience factor that we've been talking about with Oklahoma City all season long, wondering if they can get out of the second round, comes back to bite them. Denver deserves all the credit for the comeback here and the way they executed it in that final 10.
Doesn't sound like they deserve all the credit. You spent all the time talking about what the other team didn't do. Harry Lyles Jr. around the horn to you.
So here's why the Nuggets do deserve credit, because when Nikola Jokic picked up his fifth foul with 6.5 minutes to go, he scored 16 points after that. I don't know, first off, how the Thunder didn't go at him and try to pick up that sixth foul, so he's not a factor in the basketball game. They also, every player that played for the Denver Nuggets had an offensive rebound. Even though they lost the turnover battle 18-9, they out-rebounded Oklahoma City by 20. So if you're going to be the worst team, at least you're going to give yourself extra chances with all those extra rebounds. All that said, yes, Oklahoma City was way set in their ways with trying to do the foul up three. You could tell that they were set in it by how quickly they did the first one. They let 1 second go off the clock. There has to be a little bit of critical thinking in these moments here, and I think that's where that inexperience shows up. But the best player in the planet showed you why he is the best player on the planet.
Marcel Louis-Jacques, number one takeaway from Nuggets win over OKC.
It's that both teams had a sense of urgency down the stretch. The problem was with one of those teams, that urgency was so far misplaced. The Oklahoma City seemed like they were in such a rush to foul when Denver got the ball back, such a rush to send them back to the free throw line. It ended up biting them in the butt. SGA, such a rush to get that wide open dunk when there was no reason to get a bucket at that time. You can dribble off the clock. You're a 90% free throw shooter. Make them send you to the line. You won the possession. They got the ball. You got the ball in your hands. But the one time they didn't show a sense of urgency, Tony, was after that second free throw. Denver sprints down the court. Oklahoma City's got half their team in the back court trying to press. Get back on defense. Go pick up work. That's how Aaron Gordon, a 44% three-point shooter this season, got essentially a wide open shot for a 6'10 guy. So, I'm usually of the mindset that you can't just lose a game. A team can't just lose a game. Even if a team gives you opportunities, you have to execute and you have to take them. Denver showed that championship pedigree there. They took the game when Oklahoma City tried to lose.
And Kevin Clark around the horn to you, number one takeaway.
First of all, Marcel, I've seen a lot of teams lose games entirely on their own doing, starting with a couple teams in the division you cover, the Jets, the Dolphins. I've seen it before. Having said that, I want to talk about what the Nuggets are doing right now. I think that superstars in the NBA are like quarterbacks in the NFL. Nobody wins because they have them. They win because they figure out what to do once they have them. This Aaron Gordon trade a couple of years ago changed the trajectory of the franchise. That much is clear. He is the 5th player in the play-by-play era to have 2 game-winning shots with under 5 seconds to go in a single postseason. By the way, Hedo Turkoglu in 2009 did it. I'm not going to talk about the 2009 Magic. That's called professional growth. But you look at this Nuggets roster. Russell Westbrook, 1 of 10 on defense as a primary defender. That is elite. Oh, I used a bad word. I'm sorry. I'm too excited about this. But for when I look at this roster, Joker goes 40, 20, and 5. The 4th player in history to do that. But it was a team around him that made his performance great. The Nuggets are serious.
Corny Cronin back in after the horn.
I want to pick up what Kevin's putting down there. Aaron Gordon is the single most important role player on a championship contender since we saw Andre Iguodala with the Golden State Warriors when they were on their championship runs. 5 of 6 in the final 5 seconds of the game on potential go-ahead field goals, regular season or postseason. And he's got 2 game winners. He's 2 for 2 right now in this postseason, going back to game 4 in that Clippers series. It was incredible to see, and we were all thinking it. Russ, do not take the shot. Please pass the ball off to Aaron Gordon. The open shooter is always the best shooter.
Sure, but he didn't even need the 3. Once he could have gotten Holmgren away from him and gone to the basket to shoot the 3 because he believes in that shot. He's increased his percentage 10 percentage points in 1 year. The soul of the team is what Jokic called him after the game. And he was asked the question, did you know it was going in? He goes, I knew I didn't miss it. I love that from him as well. We've been Horn, we'll move on. Second steal of the night came in Boston. Knicks over the Celtics. They came back from even more than Denver did. They were 20 down in the second half. Steely in overtime. Mikal Bridges had the big steal. It's a stamp, we stamp it again. 15 of 60 from 3 for Boston. 45 misses, the most in NBA playoff history. Kevin Clark, was this about what the Knicks did or about all those Celtic misses?
You know, Tony, as the great philosopher Marcel Louis-Jacques says, a team can't lose a game all by itself. Now, the Celtics did miss 32 wide-open shots last night. That is, I believe, a record. But for me, this is about the Knicks. They were 8.5-point underdogs. They had not won a playoff game where they were that big of an underdog since 1992. They have not won 4 straight playoff road games since 1999, when crucially they made the finals. This is a team that looks like it's going to change everything about the Knicks franchise, how we view the Knicks, how we view the entire city of New York when it comes to basketball. That core is changing everything we think, and the thing about teams that change everything, sometimes you don't see it coming. This is a serious contender. This is a serious team. They played tough defense last night. I love this.
This is not what I heard from a panel yesterday or the last 3 weeks when they and everything against teams that had a better record than them this year. Marcel Louis-Jacques, around the horn to you.
Yeah, hey, Casey, nobody saw it coming except for me last July when I said that Boston would still have to go through the Knicks before they repeated. And I want to offer a public apology to our producer, Josh Bard, for reminding him of that after the conclusion of last night's game. That being said, despite the 45 missed three-pointers, New York still outscored Boston 53 to 30 in the final 6 minutes of the game. Boston's trying to lose it, but New York still had to go and take it. This being said, you had to win this game. It would be a demoralizing loss if you're unable to capitalize on an irreplicable shooting performance from Boston. We are not going to see this again. You're not going to see Jaylen Brown go 1 for 20 from the three-point line again. New York had to take advantage of it, and they did so last night. It's a huge road win for the Knicks.
Larry Lyles Jr.
This is all about the Celtics because when you play basketball the way that they do, this is in the range of outcomes. We know that they shoot a lot more shots than everybody else. And yes, this one is their fault because you mentioned they take 60 shots. 45 of those were open. They missed 32. So it's not like they were getting bad looks. They acknowledged as much at the end of the game. But at some point, you do have to stop the bleeding. Basketball is a game of runs. We saw many times last night, whether it was Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown getting a switch and you've got a Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns on you, go to the cup and get a basket. If you do that a couple of times, you win this basketball game. I don't think that this is a game that the Celtics are going to have to panic about because, again, this is in the range of possibilities when you play basketball the way that they do. But it is still a monumental loss because the Celtics were 64-0 since 1997-1998, went up by 20 or more in a postseason game, and in that same stretch, the Knicks were 0-14. So what we saw last night was rare.
Courtney Cronin.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in doubling down and dying with the lie, but the Joe Mazzulla lack of adjustments here when his team keeps shooting and shooting, and he says he's okay with the quality of the shots. How can you be okay with the quality of the shots when you're missing 45 threes? There was no way that they were going to be able to force their offense through. They kept trying to run their offense, kept trying to go for the kill shot, and that affected their offensive efficiency. They had a 20-point lead in the third quarter, you guys. It wasn't like the Knicks were that much better at getting back into this game. The Celtics blew this, and the coaching non-adjustments are what put them in this position. If they want to make this a competitive series and not be at risk of falling down 0-2, they've got to match the physicality of New York. That is what the Knicks bring to the table. You saw it with OG Anunoby getting the opportunities in transition, and you saw it with Mikal Bridges there. 3 steals, 2 blocks, and the game-sealing play. All the 5 first-round draft picks that we've been talking about. In that moment, it felt like it was worth it for New York.
Marcel Louis Jacques will give you the last word.
Quality of shots is such a facade because, who cares if you're getting quality look? Jaylen Brown, again, started 0 for 9 from the three-point line. If I'm playing in Verdansk with Harry and I miss my first 9 snipes, I'm calling a loadout and I'm putting the sniper away. Clearly getting a good look is not enough if you're not hitting it.
All right, well, there's a Call of Duty reference in there because these guys play when they're not doing it. But real quick, Marcel, are you taking the Knicks in the series?
Hold on there. Just a second there. We're not going to see a performance like we saw last night.
No.
I still need to see at least one more game before I call it. It's too early to get my full Plasky on, Tony.
Taking a break. Buy or sell next.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17.
Toronto 5, Florida 4. Check out this breakaway from Matthew Nice. Knifing through. Maple Leafs coming out swinging with a win, but it's the swing of the elbow here from Sam Bennett that is most serious. Anthony Stolarz was down and then back in the net for 2 minutes of play and then made his way towards the bench. He could be seen vomiting over the board. At that point was taken out, eventually left Scotiabank Arena on a stretcher for the hospital. Stolarz was banged up earlier from a shot to the head. So maybe even the risk was the two together compounding. Today at skate, Coach Craig Berube on his goaltender. He's doing well. He's here. He's doing good. When asked if he was going to be available tomorrow, we'll see. Don't know that yet. Does he have a concussion? Don't know that either. Reporting there from TSN Sports. Courtney, what are you buying? What are you selling from what you saw last night?
I'm buying that there's no possible way, nor should there be a way, for Stolarz to play in Game 2, considering he had to be taken out of the arena yesterday, Tony, on a stretcher because of a head injury. And 2 things are probably true here. There was the first hit he took to the face. The puck that came to his face knocked off his face mask 5 minutes into the game. He shakes his head almost like as trying to get rid of the cobwebs. We know that is a sign oftentimes associated with concussions. And then, of course, the Sam Bennett hit, which, are you surprised at where this is coming from? The same guy who about a year ago to the date sucker punched Brad Marchand, who is now his teammate. This is his former teammate. It was a bad look, but what's even worse here is that the NHL is not doing enough to protect their goalies. There was no punishment levied in the moment. It doesn't sound like there's going to be one going forward, but it also doesn't sound like Anthony Stolarz is going to be playing in Game 2, nor should he be.
Harold Lyles Jr.
Yeah, and if Stolarz is not going to be playing, I think that this was series-changing, honestly. The Leafs looked like the aggressors in the first 2 periods of this game. We know that the Florida Panthers are known for that. Paul Maurice has spoken numerous times about his team's emotional intelligence and the way that they will rise to an occasion in a game, whether that is they need goals, they need hits, anything like that. And so you saw them tighten up in that third period, not just from that perspective, but Bobrovsky looked more like himself as well. I think that this is bad for the Leafs.
Marcel Louis Jacques.
I'm selling the over-the-top physicality at times. I know the Panthers pride themselves on being bullies in the NHL. I do think there's a time and a place. I think Sam Bennett absolutely picked his spot there. I don't think it's a risk worth taking when this is the playoffs, man, and you lose the game. So now you're down a game and you're at risk of suspension. I just don't think it's worth it. And then for Toronto, Austin Matthews, they got to get him going. 0 for 31, 0 goals and 31 shot attempts against the Panthers in the playoffs. He's got to put one in the net.
And Kevin Clark.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know, and we'll see, is the most open a hockey coach has ever been about an injury in the history of the league. That's just how they operate, so we really will see what happens going forward. There's not going to be a lot of information divulged, but for me, this Leafs team really impressed me, even though they struggled as the game went on. William Nylander, 2 goals. He has consecutive games of multi-goals. Nobody's done that since 1994 with Wendell Clark. Unbelievably, the Leafs have not won the opening game of two series and 1 playoff since 2001. I know I'm going to sound like an idiot later, but I kind of believe in this Leafs team to close this out.
Even with the uncertainty around goaltender Stolarz. And I don't think it's unbelievable whenever you give a stat about the Leafs struggling in the postseason or doing it for the first. That's not unbelievable. That's very believable, in fact. Fire Cell 2.
They get worse as the series goes on normally.
Ravens statement upon releasing Justin Tucker. You've all seen it. We'll put it on the screen once more here in full. How do you read that, Marcel?
It's disingenuous. It's like they hired a knockoff Leo DiCaprio to try to incept this idea that this is a purely football decision why he is being released. We know why he's being released. He's got 16 allegations of sexual misconduct for 16 different massage therapists in the Baltimore area. Like, obviously they can't come out and say that's why he's being cut, but you don't have to shove this down our throat as if like, oh man, this was so tough. We wish we didn't have to do this. It's just a purely football decision. It's crap. You could release him. You could say thank you for your service and keep it pushing.
Kevin Clark?
Yeah, we know exactly what's happening here, but if you want to be very, very cynical, it is a football decision. The reason this is happening is that Justin Tucker was the 31st most accurate kicker last year. The league is not going to tolerate being bad and having all of this stuff. We've seen how the league has operated before on some of this stuff, kind of wait and see mode. They're not in that mode. They draft a kicker, they move on. I thought the statement was cynical. I thought it was bad. I don't think they handled this very well.
Cronin?
We knew this was going to happen when 2 weeks ago they used their first draft pick ever in the history of the 30 years of the franchise on a kicker. So Justin Tucker's days were numbered. I think they're doing this and saying that everything is rooted in it being a football decision because they don't want the wrath of the NFLPA, effectively telling them you released Justin Tucker before any of the truth came out, before he ever got his due process. So this seems like a CYA move from the way that they worded this statement. It just felt really icky, though, all of the glowy comments amid somebody who's being accused of sexual misconduct by 16 different people.
And Harry Lyles Jr.
Yeah, the glowy comments were over the top. It does feel like this is the Ravens trying to protect themselves from the NFLPA. And to Kevin's point, we have seen that if you can play, NFL teams are absolutely not just willing to overlook whatever you've got going on in your personal life, but they are willing to guarantee you, in the case of somebody like Deshaun Watson, $230 million. And clearly he was not at the point where his production was good enough for them to keep him around. That's why they drafted his replacement and they put out this statement. But they could have just said we thanked him for his time and we wish him the best in his endeavors moving forward and left it at that.
I'd like to thank Harry and Marcel for their time. Not a lot of scoring in that segment. The topics didn't allow for it. We'll catch up with you guys after a Cronin-Clark showdown. Next. Warriors T-Wolves Game 1. Will the road team make it 4-0 in Game 1, Round 2? Road Warriors come out to play. The second question I begin to ask you right now, maybe I can tempt you with this. Who'd you rather have, Steph Curry this series or Anthony Edwards this series? Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you.
I'm taking the Timberwolves in Game 1 just because the lack of rest for the Golden State Warriors, injured stars, really no trustworthy bodies next to them coming off the Game 7. And I'm also taking Anthony Edwards. He is big game hunting. He hunted LeBron. He is hunting Stephen Curry. And he will be the key.
Kevin Clark.
Give me the T-Wolves. The matchup I'm watching in this is that the Timberwolves are one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the NBA. The Warriors give up the second most offensive rebounds in the league this year. For Jimmy Butler, if he's going to guard Anthony Edwards, it's a small sample size, but he's not done well on him. Give me the T-Wolves. Give me Edwards.
You both have Edwards. You both have the T-Wolves. Although, Courtney, I'll push back on the idea, the rust, what you brought up, because we saw how that played out in at least 3 other series last night. We'll give the point to Clark. We'll move on. Showdown 2, Pacers-Cavs. Game 2 tonight. What the newly minted Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson, has for adjustments after the shocking Game 1 loss. He was upset about officiating in Game 1. Now the injuries mounting also for Cleveland. Mobley, Hunter, Garland. Kevin, can the Cavs win this game? Do they have to win this game?
Yes. First of all, they have to win this game, and they can win this game, and they will win this game. In game 1, they hit only 9 threes. That was their lowest output of the season. In the regular season, they made an NBA high 17 three-pointers per game. That changes. Like the Celtics, they can't keep missing forever. Give me the Cavs.
I'm a little bit more skeptical because of the injury situation right now. They need Darius Garland. They absolutely need DeAndre Hunter, who dislocated the thumb on his shooting hand. They cannot fall into an 0-2 hole. So if these injuries play into tonight's game, it's going to be the Donovan Mitchell experience that they rely on if they want to win this one.
Kevin Clark, you're getting the win here. It is by no means the most significant win in the household you live in, Kevin. I want to celebrate right now your wife, Emily Glazer, and her Pulitzer Prize win. A part of a team with the Wall Street Journal. Please take the FaceTime.
All right, yesterday was the best day of my life, probably. Emily Glazer, my wife, won a Pulitzer Prize for national reporting. I went to the Wall Street Journal newsroom. More importantly, my son Teddy went to the Wall Street Journal newsroom. There were 3 women who helped spearhead this project: Emily, Dana Mattioli, and Khadija Safdar. All 3 of them are young mothers who were able to bring their boys into the newsroom. It was as significant as anything I've ever been a part of in my entire life. It was important work. I loved it. They got their kudos. I've known Emily was going to Pulitzer since the day I met her. She's an amazing person, one of the best reporters in America. This was beautiful.